kind of freaking me out there, Betty.
It was freaking me out, too. I got too many windows open here.
It's probably my fault for not sending the right link. Well, somebody suggested that they were going to do this tonight, and then at the last minute they canceled. So I said, well, heck, I'll try. Why not? So I know Dwayne from Shifting Work. Mike, what's your podcast?
Well, it's actually, I don't do one per se. I'm involved in some internet broadcasts that are turned into podcasts. We have one on Sunday morning called computers2know.com, and it's a 2-hour deal we do. But I'm also involved in some terrestrial radio shows. But
cool.
I'm an audio guy.
What stations?
The main one is in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Awesome. I'm in Gadsden, Alabama. Couple of miles.
Well, I'm in Raleigh, but the show is in Tennessee.
Okay. Well, cool. Adrienne, what about you?
Well, I have been doing Views from the Top for about 5.5 years now on Blog Talk Radio. Looking to leave that platform. I am 2 shows away from my 200th episode.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long 5 years. And I've been trying to transition it over to the Mixler platform. I haven't done it yet because I haven't figured out a way to do it successfully and get everybody over there. But yeah, my show is mostly for entrepreneurs and small business owners looking to grow.
Okay. Let me give you a suggestion of someone to talk to. Her name is Dana. Hold on a second, and I'll tell you her last name. She's on Facebook.
Okay.
Give me just a second. I'll look her name up. Dana took a show from BTR to Mixler. Dana Reeves, Reeves. She's in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
But look her up. You can, if you can't find her, go and look through my friends and find her that way.
Okay.
Well, what is it you want to know?
Well, I love the fact that Blog Talk Radio does the automatic iTunes conversion. I love that it's archived. I love that people can call in. I just hate the feed. I hate the way the radio, the audio. Yeah, the audio. I hate the way the audio is. Mixler, they said that people can listen live, but I don't know if you could call in or dial in or chat in or whatever it is.
Well, keep in mind that a lot of people increasingly are using Blog Talk Radio as the telephone interface.
Yeah.
So the Mixler becomes the primary transmission medium for the audio, but then the callers can still participate on Blog Talk Radio. That's being done. I mean, if you don't mind paying the money per month, I mean, we have a Blog Talk Radio account that we use to take telephone calls.
The other work around that is getting a phone number on Skype and using Skype as a phone interface. The only problem is it's a one-line issue. If I'm not mistaken, BTR, you can actually have calls on hold. I mean,
well, they've actually got a call screening service with BTR.
Okay.
They've got a screening room, but there's no other way to do that I've found except for a service called Call-In Studio, and it's a little more expensive and it doesn't work as well.
Okay.
So you'd still have the audio issue of BTR.
Well, it depends. Not necessarily, because, I mean, for example, when we do our show and we're taking calls, we're having to send the audio into Blog Talk Radio.
Right.
If somebody is okay with listening to the telephone audio, then they can listen to it.
Okay.
But those of us who can't stomach that, if it says that the audio feed is available right now on Mixler, you spend the next year telling people to listen to Mixler, give them the link, and when they listen and hear high-quality audio, and then in the future, they would go straight to Mixler.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, and there's other ways, too. You could actually stream it live from your computer if your internet service provider does not look down on you for doing that. But it's a little bit more complicated to set up.
What is Mixler?
No, streaming from your own computer.
Well, I disagree. Mixler's got a little client. You load it up.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about like doing your own internet stream from your computer.
Oh, yeah, nobody
Yeah,
would do that.
no.
Yeah.
You could, but it's complicated. So.
Yeah. Well, my ultimate goal is to get on Sirius. Sirius XM.
I'm actually trying to reach out to some people at SiriusXM to see how much a channel would cost, and then build a network of podcasters from that. But I've not yet had anyone respond to me from SiriusXM. They must not think I'm serious, but.
Well, I mean, I started in December as a joke. I started the hashtag Get Adrian on SiriusXM Radio, and it's kind of been a running joke. I think I'm on day 49 or 50 or something or whatever. I haven't done it in a couple of days, but I keep doing it, and everybody's like, oh, okay, well, let me share this. And it's went from a joke to something really serious, but nobody's contacted me yet from there.
Dwayne, you'll have to show me what that effects does later on.
I have no idea. I'm playing while you guys are talking. I know nothing about Mixler or any of that. I just talk on Skype.
I know a very little bit about Mixler, and the only reason why I do is because of Dana, and I became friends with her and was sort of helping them work on their show a little bit before they switched from BTR to Mixler, and they were just thoroughly frustrated and disgusted with BTR for a lot of reasons. They were dropping signal and all sorts of stuff, and so they went over to Mixler for that. But she's no longer with that show, but if you have any questions about it, I promise you she could walk you through it, because she held the hands of everybody on that show that she was on in getting them over to Mixler.
I actually have a relationship with the guys who own Mixler.
Oh, cool.
I was part of their beta testing.
So Mike could help even better.
Well, the point is that it's just not that complicated. They came up with some nonsense, and I gave them some feedback, and of all things, they responded to it, and they've simplified things to the point now that it's just not complicated to do.
That's awesome.
The Mixler client can run in tandem with whatever the Blog Talk interface. However you interface with Blog Talk, it'll be in parallel with that.
Cool.
You'll need Are you using a mixer, Adrian?
Adrian?
No.
So you're just going straight in?
I just started it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Okay. I just started. I just downloaded the app on my MacBook and on my iPad, and I just set up the account, so I haven't had a chance to really play with it yet. So.
Are you say you are or are not using a mixer?
Not.
Okay, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you're going to need to send a mix minus to Blog Talk Radio, and you will also need to send a stream separately to the Mixler client.
Oh, okay. That'll be my weekend project.
Are you familiar with a mix minus?
I've heard of you talking about the mixer with the little controls with each individual.
The mix minus is a return of all the audio except for their audio.
Oh.
You're sending the mix minus their audio, and then you'll have to send that to BTR, and then to Mixler you have to send a separate audio feed, and that is the full mix with the caller.
Okay. I'm taking notes.
I will tell you, there are some easier ways to do it, but it costs. There are telephone interfaces that radio stations use all the time that will do the mix minus just with the push of a button. But the less cost, easiest way is there's a ton of YouTube videos telling you how to set a mixer up to do that. But and it shouldn't be too hard. You just need a multi-channel, multi-auxiliary mixer.
You can take a look. I just posted a link to an article in chat.
Cool.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Okay.
But, well, Mike, what kind of hurdles are you facing right now?
It's time. I want it to be professional.
Yeah. Well, I've worked in radio since 1982, and I'm just going to tell you there are different levels of professional. I mean, I've worked at stations I've worked at stations that held stuff together literally with chewing gum and Scotch tape. And then I've worked at stations that had full-time engineers. So I'm telling you, there are different levels of professional, and I kind of adhere to the instruction to get the minimally viable product out, and then improve it from there. So just get her done and get her out there, and then just make gradual incremental improvements as you continue the program.
Okay.
So Mike, what about you? Any hurdles for you?
Not really. I mean, I was in broadcasting starting in 1962, and I'm an electronics.
A glimmer in my mama's eye.
And I mean, I've built radio stations and consoles and mixers and put transmitters on the air. I mean, we used to own a radio station.
Yeah.
So the audio and things that people are so freaked out over just really aren't that complicated. So I spend a lot of time trying to help people figure it out.
I like I said, I worked in radio since '82, and when I was in seminary in New Orleans, I worked for 2 companies setting up light, sound, video, and the whole 9 yards for conferences and concerts and everything else. So I do a lot of that too, just because I like helping folks. And then Dwayne does some audio editing, and he works for a company out of South Haven, Mississippi, I think it is.
Yeah, I actually work in Memphis for a company, but I...
Do you walk in Memphis, though?
Yes.
Okay.
I walk in Memphis 5 feet off the ground.
Thank you. Just want to make sure.
Want to make sure I got it covered for you. Now, I got into doing sound for bands years ago. I played bass for years and wasn't good enough to do anything, so they put me behind the mixer.
That's how you make sure you're in the band.
Yes, sir.
You buy the sound equipment, you're in the band.
I'd trip the bass player every day just hoping I'd get my shot.
So what about you and Van?
Oh, no, man. We're rolling pretty good right now. It's we quit we did the test the month of December. We did the Twitter bombing test.
Oh, you did too?
Yeah.
Tell me about yours.
Oh, same basic thing you had. Everything, we had a 50,000 download month if you look at just the numbers.
Yeah. We
were running, probably 50 to 60% were all bots.
Yeah.
We dropped from 30+% on either iTunes, and I think it was 20-something percent, over 50% total combined on Apple, Core Media, and iTunes. And once I stopped the week before Christmas, it stopped.
Yeah.
And
are y'all familiar with what Twitter bombing is?
Nope.
Okay. Here's the issue, and I thought I posted in Podcasters World the link to the article. Next month, excuse me, next month I'm doing a whole feature. I'm doing 4 weekly podcasts on the issue of Twitter bombing, and I've got a number of articles coming out on Twitter bombing as well. But what it is a lot of podcasters who are reporting these multiple hundreds of thousands of downloads per month. What they're doing is they're getting multiple Twitter accounts, and then they're using some automation software. It could be MeetEgger, it could be Social Loop, it could be Hootsuite, it could be, whatever. But what they're doing is they're posting multiple, and I'm talking like a minimum of 10, more than likely, and some as many as 100 to 150 direct links to their Libsyn account or their Blueberry account directly to the download. So the player pops up in Twitter, and then unsuspecting people click on it, and then it starts playing the audio, and Libsyn and Blueberry count it as a direct hit, as a download. So that's how they're getting their download numbers up. And then Dwayne mentioned as well, as much as Twitter swears up and down there are no bots, there are bots in the Twitter sphere.
There are many bots.
And there are a lot of them who have absolutely no name. And so some of these bots have been set out there by podcasters. And so what they're doing is they're going and they're finding these podcast direct links, and they're hitting them. And you don't even have to have a lot of followers on those multiple Twitter accounts because the bots are going to do most of the work. And the problem with that is that people who are gaming the system end up causing problems for all of us who may eventually want to sell advertising, because as advertisers hit these guys who have 100,000, 200,000, a million downloads, you know, what, in 6 months, or 3 million downloads, as one podcaster we know brags about, when advertisers go to them and then they don't get a response, then they go to another Twitter bomber and don't get a response, then they go to another Twitter bomber and don't get a response, then they go, well, I'm not spending any advertising money in podcasting again because I get no response.
Who's claiming 3 million?
Can I say, Dwayne?
He's my buddy, but go ahead.
The guy over the pond named, I see if I can remember his name now. My brain just reminded me I'm 50. What is his
just
name?
On your show, David Ralph.
David Ralph, that's it.
Never heard of him.
He does a podcast called Connecting Dots or something like Joining Up Dots. Here's what I tell people when I consult them. I said, first off, if you're looking to make a lifetime's worth of money in podcasting, it's not going to happen. If you're looking to communicate a passion and a message and hoping one day to make a little bit of money off podcasting, then that's cool. But be in podcasting because you like podcasting. Be in podcasting because you have a message to communicate. And if you're a believer, as I am, and if God decides to shine favor on you, or if you're not, and the fates decide to shine favor on you, then the favor will shine on you. And that's just all there is to it.
Look.
But don't compare yourself to any of these other guys.
No, I mean, I wish them well.
I do too. But, you know, even if, let's just say John Lee's reports are right, his financial reports are correct, look at what he's doing. He's not making his money off his advertising. He's making his money off his other products. And so that's what I tell other podcasters is, look, understand that corporate sponsorship or advertising sponsorship or whatever is not going to make you the core of your money. What's going to make you the core of your money is the content you produce. So produce good content, learn how to convert it into a profitable product, and then sell it. And you know, that's part of why I set up ShowNotesGuy, was because the whole idea was to help podcasters not really necessarily make show notes, but to make good content they could package into other products and then be able to sell that, books, whatever, training, whatever. And so, you know, that's the whole concept, is to help podcasters turn that information into a profitable product. Because in a podcast, it's free.
And see, for me, it's the opposite. The consulting and for my industry, consulting and books and product, all of that came before I started podcasting. So I look at podcasting a lot like blogging. It's kind of just an enhancement to get my brand out there.
Exactly.
I haven't really considered, well, I thought about monetizing it, and I was getting a lot of inquiries, but it's because people heard of me on a speaking circuit, they've read my books and things like that. But if I decide to do this a little bit more robust than I have been doing it, I want to make sure I'm doing it the right way, like I said earlier. But yeah, I always look at some of those reports and feel kind of skeptical, because at my peak, I would say I was getting on a monthly basis maybe 6,000 to 8,000 downloads. Then I kind of took a hiatus. People were still downloading maybe 100, 200 a month. I came back maybe in the fall, and I only post out the day that I do the show, so I don't do a lot of promo into it because people already know and they listen to the show, so they know when it's coming on. So I don't do a lot of promo. I'll put it out on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn. I'll do it before I broadcast. I say, hey, I'm live now, and then I'll do a couple of times during the day, and then I leave it alone, and people just go and they download it from there. So, yeah.
And here's the thing, and next month I've got interviews with Rob Walsh of Libsyn. I've got an interview with Todd Cochrane of Blueberry, and both of them pretty much say, look, it's okay to send a direct download link every once in a while, but it's not okay to be sending 100 or more out per hour, knowing that the bots are going to grab them. And see, and Dwayne can tell you as well, in my one day of Twitter bombing, I learned so much, because you've got to have different bit.ly links or shortened links to the URL, because Twitter starts throwing them out. You're automatically posting these links too close to each other. So that, I mean, it's a huge effort, and it takes a lot of science to be able to do this. You've got to really pay attention to YouTube and learn how to really game that system to be able to game the download system. Yeah. So, Dwayne, talk a little bit about that. Your experience, I'm sure, was very similar to mine.
Oh, yeah, you know, and one of the things that really kept kicking back on me was I had 2 accounts. Unlike some, I just had 2. I know some people.
10 or 12.
There's a guy with the initials Mo. I'll use the actual initials. That when I assisted someone with a webinar one day, and I got some very, very harsh messages from this person because we revealed his strategy to grow his audience and grow his sponsors. But yeah, when you do it multiple accounts, same bit.ly links, what I basically did on the 2 accounts is I created an Excel spreadsheet and then just bulk uploaded to one, then bulk uploaded to the other. I rotated the stuff, and it was all a test because I wanted to see what these guys were doing and how they were getting all these downloads just out of curiosity. And yeah, it'll kick them out. You can't use this, you can't use that. This one, I got banned on a couple of bit.ly links. So I'll give the guys credit. You know, it's a challenge to do, but some of those guys have 10 accounts.
Yeah, or more.
And you figure if you're using something, and I know that you're probably using Social Loom for something else, but if you're using something like Hootsuite, you got 5-minute intervals.
Yeah.
And if you're releasing every 5 minutes on 10 different accounts, it's, you know, you're almost one every 1.5 minutes or so. Is hitting, and there's a lot of bots out there to get that, and then that ruins it for everybody else trying to get a sponsor because, hey, guess what? You guys are corrupt in that industry, and we don't want to sponsor you.
And the thing is they're not just sending links to their most recent episode. They're sending links to all of their episodes.
If you got a guy with 200 episodes, I guarantee you in one day you'll see each episode twice tweeted from one account, from just one account.
So it's not healthy for the podcasting community. I will say, as I did in, hold on a second, Joseph Berman just asked, could he join? Y'all know Joseph Berman?
Nope.
I know
Joseph. Joseph is the guy who does Pod to Pod.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And,
he's an Oklahoma City boy, I think.
He's in California.
Is he? I thought he was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. By the way, John Cena lost. Okay.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not going to ruin it for you and tell you that's fake. Hey,
it's not fake. It still hurts. The outcome is determined. That's the only thing.
Hey,
well, can I share something with you guys really quickly?
Yeah, jump on it.
My son is actually in wrestling. He's on the independent circuit, and he is on his way to the WWE. So that my life is engrossed in wrestling right now.
That's awesome.
Why are you on here and not watching Raw?
No, because I get tired of it.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I've got a friend here in Gadsden who is a former professional wrestler, and he is starting a new circuit in the Southeast. So, and matter of fact, we've got to meet the middle of February about the plans to broadcast that live on video online. So that'll be interesting. Cool. Mr. Berman, how are you, sir?
Hello, I'm doing great.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Joseph Berman, who I met at Podcast Movement. Joseph is the publisher.
Silhouette.
Do I?
Can I just call him the Silhouette?
Yeah, you need some front light there, Joe. There you go. Joseph is the publisher of Pod to Pod, the weekly newsletter about podcasters, and I don't know if he included my article about Twitter bombing last week or not. I can't remember. But
hey, let me start off real quick before you go any further and tell you how much I appreciate Pod to Pod, Joseph.
I love it.
I look forward to it. And when I don't see it in my email, I get upset.
I think he liked that, Dwayne.
I hope he did. At least we can see him now.
I know. So, Joseph, you got a newsletter. Are you going to start a podcast anytime soon?
I don't know. I guess I do get jealous a lot about all the people I cover, to tell you the truth.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing it, because it is a help for me, because I'm getting to learn about new podcasts and new podcasters and new interesting stuff about podcasters. You posted my friend Joe Pardo's article on Twitter bombing, and a month ago almost, and that article lit up a storm in a couple of places on Facebook, and mine kind of lit up a little bit of a storm too last week. And next month's going to be really interesting. The month of February I probably will have a ton of enemies by the time the month is over. But so how can we help you, Joe, with your Pod to Pod newsletter?
That's an interesting question. Thanks for asking how you can help. I'm a little bit caught off guard by that question, to tell you the truth. But the best way would be...
I knew that when you said that's an interesting question.
Deflected. Point at something else real quick. Shiny object.
That's all right. I mean, I appreciate if you just subscribe and read it and tell other people about it, or send me content that you think would be cool. But I'm really doing it for everybody to consume. I know how to do newsletters. I think I do, at least. I
like it. Adrienne, you said you had not.
What was that?
Adrienne said she had not heard of Pod to Pod. Mike, have you?
No.
Okay, so Joseph, tell them how they can subscribe.
Just go to the website, podtopod.com, and there's a big subscribe button there.
Yeah, a big honking subscribe button. So, and Joseph pays attention to a lot of podcasting industry news, and so he keeps us up to date on a lot of stuff. So what's coming up in the next episode of Pod to Pod?
So that should be coming out tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I think I have a long night ahead of me, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think you know where to find when I post controversial articles.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing for sure. News.
Do I? You were cutting out on us. Hello,
I'm
Joseph.
sorry. The big thing is the big serial news about Sarah Koenig being added to Podcast Movement.
And she's the closing speaker.
Keynote speaker.
So that's going to be interesting. And I've seen a few podcasters start switching the format of their podcast to be more of a dramatic type of issue. So I'm really interested. That is a very time and money intensive effort. Serial was a huge endeavor, and it required NPR to get involved for them to pull that off. So I don't know how in the world independent podcasters are going to be able to do a serial type episodic podcast. It's going to be interesting.
Right. Well, I thought about it because I don't write fiction, but I do have a book idea, and I've just been lazy. I didn't want to write it because I've outlined it. But I was hearing so much about Serial, and I said, I got to check this. Let me check this out. And I was just blown away, and I just can envision the book that I have in mind being done like that. And I was really toying with the idea, but I don't know if I'll be in Dallas for the conference, but I really want to hear her talk. I really want to hear her keynote and see if maybe I can get some, absorb some information from her, because I think I want to give it a try. So.
You can, now last year I know they also had a virtual ticket, and I think they have a virtual ticket for this year. So,
cool.
So that'll be.
They don't officially go on sale until the 2nd of February, but
Right.
they're supposed to have another virtual ticket, from what I understand.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so that'll help you.
Yeah, because I missed the one in Orlando. My mom actually works at the hotel that it was at, and I was supposed to be here, but I didn't get down from Atlanta in time, so I missed it.
That's for the Florida Podcasters Association meeting, right?
That was in November or December, whatever the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, this Florida Podcasters Association, and we're working on, Dwayne and I are working on trying to set up a Southeastern Podcasters Association, and that would include, I hate to say it this way, basically all of the Confederate states, the former Confederate states, but I mean, you know, it's the Southeast. So, but roughly from Texas all the way across to the Atlantic Ocean, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, and down to Florida. So we're trying to get that set up so we can get that started. We're actually, Dwayne and I have to have a meeting sometime.
Yes, we do.
Hint, hint.
Yes, we do. I know.
About Kickstarter and what we're going to kickstart for. So that's what. Mike, where are you from?
Raleigh,
North Carolina. So you might want to be interested in that too. I knew you said where you were from, but my 50-year-old brain forgot.
Wait till you get to be 60.
Hey, 45 ain't no joke either.
And I'll be 40 Wednesday since we're throwing our ages up.
Shut up, youngster. Joe's what, 28?
Close.
I thought so. How old are you, Joe?
25.
25?
Yeah. He's a pup.
When I met him at PM, I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, is he out of college yet?
He's 2 years older than my son. I feel like ancient.
But Joe is a really good guy, and you were launching Pod to Pod at Podcast Movement, correct?
That's right.
And so he was launching it. I don't even think you'd even sent an issue out at the time I registered for Pod to Pod, but he was there trying to get a lot of podcasters to subscribe, and just came out of the gate. And he's got a lot of great content in his weekly episodes, and we just lost him, but that's okay. And we just lost Dwayne. Dwayne must be going to put the kiddos to bed. But I'll throw out some issues that I'm having with my podcast. Number one, as I was saying, I did this Twitter bomb experiment back in December, and my downloads went from about 150 to almost 3,000 in a day. And then when I quit 30 hours later, it went right back down to 140, 150, somewhere around there. Then a month later, I wanted to clear out all of those old tweets. About a month later, I did another Twitter bomb experiment where I did not post any direct links, but I only posted links to iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and TuneIn. And when I did that, I actually lost half of my core audience. So I did that just to find out what would happen with Twitter bombing and what the effects really are. And the effects are, you lose your core audience, you lose your subscribers, you lose the people who are following you, you have no audience interaction whatsoever. And if you don't manage it well, Twitter will kick you out. And if you do manage it well, you're still not going to get a lot of followers. You're going to get a lot of downloads, but that's all you're going to get. You're not going to have any audience interaction. You're only going to have downloads.
So I guess the question becomes, well, I can only speak from my experience because it's live when I do it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to take calls. I don't do the calls anymore, but I used to take calls, and that really helped me build a lot of the interaction with my audience. And I think they missed that, because I still get texts and emails about that. But when you're just straight podcasting and it's already pre-recorded, how do you kind of balance, or how do you balance that? How do you keep your subscribers interested?
Related content throughout the week. Are you weekly, bi-weekly? How many? Weekly?
Yeah.
Related content throughout the week through newsletters. Build your email list.
I
Build
just cut mine.
Build your email list. If
Yeah,
I
but
had,
when
if
you
I
say-
had the reverb, I would do that, with the voiceover.
When you say you just cut some of yours, you just got rid of subscribers.
Got it. Yeah, because the thing is, yeah, I cut out the ones that don't respond. Like, I'll send out every quarter, hey, I want to make sure I'm sending out the content you want to see. I give them options to put themselves in specific groups. And if they're just non-responsive after 2 cycles, I delete them from the list. So I went from maybe a little over 3,000 to now I think I have 1,300 people on my list. But that's okay, because those are people who are actually interested in my content.
Darling,
I don't want to have people just there.
Darling, you have 1,200 more than I have. I would love to have a 1,300 list. Here's the thing. You have to keep them involved. You have to continuously give them some information of value to them. So I don't know what your niche is, what your message is, but you need to send them regular updates on what you're doing and on things that are of value to them. Let them see your human side and let them see your business side.
Yeah, they see. I think I do a good job of managing that on social media. I used to do the Google Hangouts, the on-air shows and things like that, but it's because my client base has grown and I have so many projects going on, I don't have the time to do it again like I used to, and I refuse to give it over to someone like an intern or my assistant or anything, because they're used to me. They know. It's so eerie because they know if something is not written by me, they know if something's not tweeted by me. I mean, they really, in the last maybe 6 years, have become my family in a sense, so they know if I'm not around. But it's harder managing the time and the projects, but I want to find that balance, and I eventually want to get back to do live shows where they can call in. I don't like Blog Talk Radio.
But use Google Hangouts. Use Google Hangouts and use. Hold on. I'm trying to remember the teleconference system. Uber Conference. Uber Conference. If you get a pro Uber Conference, I think it's like $10 a month.
Okay.
Then I think it's 10. Don't quote me. Please don't quote me. It's scriptural truth there, but I think it's like $10 a month. But what it will do is it will give you a phone number without a PIN code for a conference, for a teleconference number, and then you can allow them to interact and to call, and you can tie it in with Google Hangouts. Okay.
Yeah, I stopped using Google Hangouts. They've improved. But I was one of the beta when they first launched and rolled it out, and it was horrible. It was the feeds were horrible. They would get stuck. They would freeze, and I kind of stopped. I put the link in the chat of the shows that I did, but those were fun. I love doing those. Is like I said, the time. I just want to keep them involved and keep them. My message is about growing your business in any economy. So I kind of give people the tools and the resources, and I bring them experts and people who've been through it, more so the people who've been through it than experts. But and they love that. I just don't have the time.
I understand, and that time is a very important thing that most podcasters don't have. That's why I do show notes, because most podcasters do not have the time to do everything that they need to do with a podcast. One of the things that I'm learning is most folks, and I'm a part of Podcasters Paradise. I got in before it was a monthly type thing, where I paid and that was it for life. So I was very happy to get in under that wire. But the fact of the matter is I'm learning. Dwayne, correct me if I'm wrong. Joseph, I think you're in Podcasters Paradise too, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of folks, even in Podcasters Paradise, who have had tons of information laid in their laps, who still yet have yet to create a podcast. And the reason why is because they're stuck. They don't know what to do. They don't have a strategy. They don't understand all the things to get things in the right order. And John Lee has a 0 to done handout that you can print out and follow and pretty much know. But it's the hand-holding that people need, the hand-holding and the accountability. And I'm finding that out in a very real way lately.
You couldn't have said it more true, Philip. It's absolutely true that there's so many people in there that really want to be coddled through the process.
Yeah.
They want somebody to be right there with them. And, you know, I was like you. I got in, I think I was the 31st person to join Podcasters Paradise. And I paid next to nothing for it compared to what it is now.
Oh, it's scary.
And
anybody can pay $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
And
that's not bad.
It is if you're brand new at it, and as 2 of my coaching consultants did, have been members for 6 and for 9 months, and paid that much money and have nothing to show for it. And in a month, in a month's time, I got one. Actually, in 3 weeks' time, I got one of my clients produced a month's worth of content to have on Libsyn to start with, and then produced another 3 weeks worth of weekday content, and was ahead of the game. So when she launched on January 5th, she had 25 episodes in the can in Libsyn live on the day she launched. And then from there, had a daily episode every weekday from then on the whole month of January. And so now she has over 3,000 downloads for the month of January as a brand new podcaster. And she didn't Twitter bomb.
Okay. Because I was considering joining. I have the book.
Yeah.
His John Lee Dumas. And I was considering joining because I just, like I said, I'm trying to take it to another level. So I haven't really spoken to anyone who's joined Podcast Paradise. So to hear your feedback is good. But I don't think for what you say he's offering, I don't think the $1,000 is a lot.
I think it depends on what
for me. I'm sorry, for me.
If you're someone new that has no clue, there's a ton of great information in there. Anybody that's experienced, there's great information in there. But to me, one of the biggest things is a lot of people enter it like it's a small grouped mastermind.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's very diluted as far as the amount of people that are in there. But then again, you've also got a support system like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
it's a 1,300 member Facebook group.
Okay.
And it moves. I mean, the timeline moves very quickly. But you can post in there, and you will find people like me and Dwayne and some others who will throw in some assistance and some encouragement. But if you're looking to hear from John Lee on any of those things, that interaction is few and far between.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Makes sense now.
A lot of people get the impression of.
Do what?
I said I think that's what a lot of people get the impression of, is they're going to have one-on-one with good old JLD, and you're not.
Not unless you pay another $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. And that perspective is different. Okay, I got you.
So, what Podcasters Paradise has on their website is a whole lot of videos and a whole lot of old webinars, and he adds one a month to it, but a whole lot of old webinars about podcasting. And you'll find a lot of good content in there, but you got to go through all the videos to find it.
Gotcha.
And so, but I mean, it's good content.
It is. It's all good content, and some of it's leaning toward the new person. Some's leading toward the person who just wants to start trying to get sponsors. Some's leading toward just gaining, growth on your list. But that's it's all codependent to what you're looking for.
Right.
To me personally, now where I'm at, a smaller, tighter group mastermind that's not just podcasters, that's a mix of podcasters and people in other businesses would probably be the best growth for me.
Gotcha.
But I mean,
and myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And but I will say this: the advantage of having that network around you is beneficial. But here's the thing, and this is why I was talking about, oh my gosh, $1,000 a year. First off, I didn't pay $1,000 for my membership. Secondly, $1,000 a year to a guy like me who is trying to build an internet-based business from scratch with just this job as his source of income, $1,000 can be a whole lot of money. And so you've got to find other sources similar to that, but that are not quite so expensive.
Right. That makes sense. No, see, and I guess I had a different impression of what the group was.
Yeah.
So now that you lay it out that way, yeah, I see where you're coming from now.
Yeah, it's a 13. Somebody go to Podcasters Paradise on Facebook and tell me how many members are in there right now.
Just a second.
It's 1,300 and something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he adds to it every Wednesday.
1,418.
Okay. See, he adds to it every Wednesday when he does his little webinars.
Okay.
And so, you know, I mean, it's a constantly growing group, which is good. It's always good to have new life in a group.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, others who are still members that were very active in January, February, March, and April before, you know, that's the time when I was really active, and now I'm reactive in it again, but not nuclear reactive. Just I'm active again in it. There were a lot of the folks that I interacted with in January through March are still members there, but I rarely see them.
Yeah, see, I run a group, well, not similar to that, but same format. But it's very intensive. It's business owners,
right?
From different, like, kind of what, I'm sorry, Dwayne, is that his name?
Yeah.
He was mentioning, yeah. And it's very much content-driven, action-driven, accountability-driven, and, you know, they're on it. They stay on it. And for that, I mean, they come in with an objective. So it's with Podcasters Paradise, the objective is to become a better podcaster. With ours, it's about growing your business, and each person has that, well, I want to get on shelves, or I want to get brand exposure, or I want to do this. And it's very intensive, and I don't make no bones about it. I charge $159 a month.
Yeah.
So to me, that's why when you say, if it was how I thought it was, when you said Podcasters Paradise was $1,000, that really made sense to me. Like, oh, okay, well, I charge almost similar, but now hearing that it's just really webinars in a group and that's it, not really him giving himself, that's not, I wouldn't, because my people wouldn't pay for if I wasn't involved in my group, they would not pay for that.
Well, he runs the webinars, and every once in a while he'll get on in the Facebook group and he may comment here and there.
Yeah, now he does. I will say the one thing he does that not up to my expectations sometimes, but he does do once a month. He does a Q&A.
Yeah.
And
is it interactive?
Yes. It's,
on the Q&A he is.
Basically, he's answering questions. Kate is reading them to him, and it's people messaging. So it's actually tight to get in there. I've tried a couple times to throw some questions out, and you just can't get them in sometimes.
What's a typical question you might want to ask John Lee Dumas?
A typical question I would, I was actually in the webinar that had Tim Ferriss, and I was wanting to learn a few things from Tim, and see, that is part of the value of Podcasters Paradise is, you know, he has some really high-powered guests sometimes on his webinars, but I had a few questions I wanted to ask Tim, and I had to bail out early, so I don't know if they asked any of my questions. But one of the ones I wanted to ask him was what was some of the life hacks he's learned to be able to maximize social media marketing, because he does a really good job at it when his books come out. And so I wanted to see if he had some viable hacks, not Twitter bombing, that were usable by the common man. And so I don't know if those questions were asked in the body of the webinar, because like I said, I had to leave early. But those are the things I really am trying to learn right now, is the marketing aspect of it. I can produce a podcast. I can sit down with anybody who has any type of idea for a podcast. I can help them produce a podcast. I can help them with the content. I can help them with the audio and getting it out there and posted and all that. The thing that I have problems with, that I'm not as much problems with, the things that I'm trying to learn right now are marketing. How do I get my message out? How do I grow my audience?
So mostly branding and marketing.
Well, Dwayne, I've got the branding down, don't I?
Oh my gosh! Does the Show Notes guy ever have the branding down for the Show Notes guy? The Show Notes guy, the only thing he ever talks about is the Show Notes guy.
Matter of fact, normally I have my fedora on, but I mean, it is. It's all part of the image and the branding, but it beyond that, how do you? Okay, I'm learning that Twitter is not the tool that I really want to use so much to grow my audience. It does not grow my audience.
Let me put a thought in there, Philip.
Okay.
And I don't mean to be Mr. Negative. I'm accused of it, probably guilty, but and this is a hypothetical question. I'm not speaking to you or anybody else, because I've not heard any of your podcasts in this group.
Okay.
But let's suppose that you have a really bad podcast and you're really good at marketing.
Yeah. You're
permanently ruining yourself with your audience.
Oh, yeah.
The first step in good marketing is to have a good product.
Exactly.
And that's what troubles me about the podcasting community, is so many people skip over that step.
Amen.
You're absolutely right. Matter of fact, that's one of the things I tell my coaching clients is, I want to hear what you're doing, because I want to make sure you're doing it right. I don't want my name affiliated with crap. And
I stirred up a big stink, in a couple different groups not too long ago, talking about a podcast where a guy, you could tell, recorded it on his phone walking to his car.
Yeah. I read that.
And people were, it's not about the quality, it's about the content. Well, if I can't listen to it for 30 seconds, then it's not about the content, because I'm never going to know what the content was.
Exactly.
And that's the problem I have with Blog Talk Radio, because I know I give quality content. I mean, I definitely give quality content, and I'm told that all the time. I mean, Forbes wouldn't have come looking for me. MSNBC wouldn't have come looking for me. I got major exposure because they heard my blog, read my blogs, heard my podcast. It's just the quality, the sound quality is where I struggle. And I feel so bad, because the guy in the group, Pod Vader, I think his name, whatever it is, and he's been trying to get me to talk with him for a long time to see how he can keep me there, but I just don't see the quality in Blog Talk Radio, and I think that if I want to take it to the next level, that's holding me back.
Well, they are introducing HD audio. I talked with him too, and I tried to get more information. I wasn't very successful, because I recommend the service as a telephone bridge, but that's what it is. That's what it was designed to be. That's what it is. People say, the quality is bad. Yes, the quality is bad. The quality is bad if you make a telephone call. I mean, that's what it was designed to do. So there shouldn't be a problem with the quality. But with their introduction of HD audio, if they could actually get a Mixler type quality for their service without raising the rate, they would be pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other thing is, a lot of, like, I use Haro, Help a Reporter Out. Well, I used to use them. And a couple of celebrities, because I've interviewed people like Barbara Corcoran, Jeff Hazlett from Kodak. I mean, a bunch of high-level people. And now those same people are like, oh, well, my PR people said that I shouldn't do any more shows from Blog Talk Radio. Yeah. And Harold won't accept any queries from a Blog Talk Radio show. So I think that when they started doing that, I saw my numbers come down. Yeah. But, I mean, the people who were loyal, but I wasn't getting as much reach. I mean, I probably could have marketed more if I wanted to, but, I mean, I didn't have to do that before. Now, you know, people are like, oh, it's not, we don't want to be bothered with Blog Talk Radio. So it's kind of like a stigma for me using it. So
let me tell you about an app that came out last week, if I'm not mistaken, which is good for one-on-one interviews, and I'm hoping eventually they will adapt and overcome the problems of BTR, and that is Ringer, R-I-N-G-R.
Ringer.
And
.us.
Yep, .us, and it came out last week. You have to quit every program every app that is active on your phone to get it to be able to record. But what it does is it records your side of the conversation on your phone. It records their side of the conversation on their phone. Then it sends it to Ringer, and you're able to download high-quality audio from both sides of the conversation and be able to use it that way. But that's for one-to-one interviews. I've not yet seen them be able to do anything with more than 2 people.
Okay.
Mike, have you?
I haven't used Ringer, but there's another one out now that I just became a beta tester for. And let me see what the name of it is. It's generating a lot of stir. But see what happens with these WebRTC implementations. Somebody comes out with a great idea, and then there are 55 copycats.
Exactly.
And so be it. I mean, I'm all for it. There are a couple of really, really good services out there. And what is the name of this one that I just did? I'll find it.
Okay.
But it's going to be good for the industry to get high quality resources. It's going to be bad for these companies because there's not enough business to go around.
No, there's not.
The podcasting community is microscopically, infinitesimally small as an industry.
If I were to estimate, Mike, Joe, you tell me, Dwayne, either one of you, all 4 of you, tell me if I'm wrong. I would estimate there's 10,000 maybe podcasters active right now.
I thought it was maybe more.
I would argue that if you said podcasters, I'd have said yes, but you said active.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that high, and would have to define active. Active means that they're podcasting for at least 6 months.
Okay.
I would say my definition of active would be that they have released a new episode of their podcast within the last 6 weeks.
Okay.
1 in 6 weeks?
Yeah. At least
I don't
one.
Know how you, yeah.
Well, here's what I mean by that, because you have some people like Andy Stanley. Andy Stanley has a great podcast on leadership, but he releases 1 a month.
But that's his period, though. That doesn't matter.
I understand that. But that's why I say they've released at least 1 episode in the last 6 weeks, because you're going to find that there are some really good podcasts who only come out with a monthly episode.
Right. But if you're going in defining active, though, I would suggest that they have released at least 3 podcasts according to their established frequency. So for me to consider someone to be an active podcast, if they do monthly, they'd have to have done a podcast for each of the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Or if they're weekly, each of the last 3 weeks. Because what kills podcasting, in my opinion, is the lack of consistency.
Inconsistency and poor quality.
You think about, even if you want to watch network television, you want to go turn on television and watch, God forbid, 60 Minutes or something like that. And you go turn it on and there's a ball game.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do? Well, heck, I just won't even watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and chase them for the privilege of doing business with them. And podcasters just shoot themselves in the foot at every chance they get by being inconsistent and unpredictable.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, talking a minute ago, quality's the number 1 to me, and then consistency's number 2.
PodClear.
PodClear. Okay.
PodClear.com.
Pop that in the chat room, Mike.
Okay.
Now, so, and that really is, those two issues are truly the issues of success or failure in a podcast. Because let me just explain, the numbers are small for the number of podcasters, but the last survey I saw, only 18% of the American population knows what the word podcast is.
Wow.
So
let me add another dimension to that. And again, sometimes people don't like what I have to say because I say what's on my mind, and I try to be as sincere and honest about it as I can. And I'll just ask each of you, what percentage of the people that download your podcast actually listen to it?
And, well, I will tell you this. Blueberry is, I hope I'm not speaking out of school, Blueberry, in my discussions with them about Twitter bombing, is talking about, and are seriously talking about, rolling out an additional stat, which is how long they listen to your podcast.
Kind of like,
how are they going to do that?
Well, like YouTube does. I mean, YouTube, I can go and look at any video I post, and I can tell you how long somebody watched my video.
But wait a second. So if I'm using Media Monkey to download the podcast, I open it and then it periodically checks, and it downloads that podcast. There is no way Todd can determine how long I listen to it.
I know that.
And I'm subscribed. I'm just now looking at it. I'm subscribed to 26 podcasts.
Yeah.
I regularly listen to one.
Yeah.
25 people are getting free numbers.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole game with the iPhone apps, the smartphone apps. Think about this. If you're subscribed to someone who has a Libsyn app and you're downloading it through your iTunes app and you're downloading it through their app, they just got 2 downloads from you whether you ever listen to it or not. So, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty cool little trick too. But, but there's really no way to know, Mike. I mean, it's, you and I both worked in the radio industry, and you and I both know that there's really no way to verify that anybody ever listened to me on the radio.
Actually, that's
unless
not
they
true.
tell you.
Well, here's the Arbitron will not verify that anybody listened to you on the radio.
You know how we verified it?
How's that?
The response that our advertisers got.
Exactly, and that's really the only way. And but the point is there's no analytic other than that can verify someone listened.
Let me tell you a little story that happened to us that still is a good illustration. We had a tire dealer, and this was back in the 70s. We had a tire dealer. We had 2 main stations in town, and the other station had a lot better salespeople than we were. So they went to this tire dealer, and they had sold him a bill of goods and convinced him. We had about 80% of the audience. They had about 20%, and he was kicking our butt in sales.
Yep.
So we were in there, and the owner says, look, he said, I got to tell you why I'm not doing business with you. And my salesperson that I had trained was very sharp. She said, why is that? He said, I just don't think you've got listeners. She said, so you're telling me you're not spending money with our radio station because you don't think we have listeners? Yeah. Well, do you want to do a test? He said, well, I'd be curious to know. He said, I'll tell you what, let's do. He said, let's run an ad. He said, I want you to pay for it, but I want to run one ad that says that we will give $10 bill, free $10 bill to anyone who walks in and says, I listen to this radio station.
He didn't want to do that, did he?
He said, okay, let's do it.
Oh, wow.
And she said, all right, and they set it up and ran the ad. That place was overrun, and he called and had to buy a second ad. We made him pay for it that says the deal is off. And he started buying advertising after that. So you're right. I mean, you cannot necessarily gauge your audience and know accurately how many people are listening.
Absolutely.
But there are indicators that give. I mean, I was listening to some guys who were doing a podcast, periodic podcast. It was a live event, and they would have, honest to goodness, over 100,000 listeners. They were streaming the Apple events, probably illegally, but they were streaming them.
Yeah, it was
And,
illegal.
huh?
It was illegal. If they're
Yeah.
streaming Apple events, it's illegal.
Yeah, but it was in another country, so the Apple would have to go to a different country to do it, and there was a bunch of teenagers, so anyway. But these guys, I said to them, I said, without regard for whether you should or shouldn't do that, if you're going to have 100,000 live viewers, why don't you monetize this thing? Oh, well, we've sold ads, but you know what? We've never had the same advertiser twice. Why do you think that is?
Because you ain't getting no business.
Deliver results.
Yeah.
And the ads that they did, I mean, they were just rank amateur pitiful.
Yeah.
And they didn't work. They actually had one guy demand his money back, and they said, do I give him his money back? And I said, if you didn't deliver what you sold him, you give him his money back.
That's right.
Well, can I ask you guys this? As opposed to traditional advertising, I've been trying to, even on the blog and things like that, I've been trying to stay away from the traditional old school advertising. Do you think the featured content that's more educational / advertorial is here to stay, as opposed to just buy me a 30-second spot, 10-second spot, or whatever on a podcast? So like, have them come in and do maybe if it were, say, a life coach, they do a motivational minute, or if it was an insurance company, they come on and do a spiel about, you know, the having flood insurance, and you know the pros and cons of having flood insurance, like things like that, like advertorial / educational. Do you think that's a better draw than strictly just straight ads?
I think, Mike, let me interrupt and then I'll go to you. I think the move toward monetizing your podcast is turning to the move toward selling your business through your podcast.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's totally. Hey, Jeremy, you there?
Hey, Jeremy, I see you, bud.
Hey.
Folks, that's Jeremy Montoya, a young chap from Phoenix, Arizona, and he is a great mind for social media and marketing. Adrian, here's my point. And the reason why the Show Notes Guy presents the podcasters is because I'm reaching an audience of podcasters because I want those podcasters to know what I do. That I do coaching, I do counseling, I do show notes, and if I ever get anybody that wants to do audio editing, I'll get Dwayne to do the audio editing for me. And so, you know, I'm building a network of people who can help me provide services. Plus, if you look over here, that is my training modules that I'm in the process of developing right now, so that I can take podcasters who don't have $1,000 and want to learn how to do it the right way, that they can learn for
$197.
No, it's 140. It's 145. I'm selling it for 99.
No, I'm talking about the other one's 1,097.
Yeah. So you know, $1,100. So that's, you know, because I've been there. I know it was a huge struggle for me, even at the lower rate, to pay for Podcasters Paradise. But I recognized the power of the network. Because I kind of knew where I was headed with my podcast, and that I didn't want to just produce a podcast. I wanted to have a service to help podcasters. So the point is whatever it is that you sell, whatever it is that your business is, your podcast should be your vehicle to present your business to more people. And by doing that, and by driving people back to your website and saying, you know, this month I'm having a great, you know, call it a mini mastermind or something for the next month.
Don't use mastermind.
No, I wouldn't.
I hate that word.
I do too, but I mean, for lack of a better word right now, you know, I'm having a small accountability group or whatever you want to call it. And for the next month, we're going to be talking about this aspect of business, and the introductory price, where I would have charged $150 or $500 or whatever, the introductory price is less than that. And then that lets them they already are getting a feel for you and your podcast.
Right.
Now you've gotten them to buy. And once you've turned them into a purchaser, it's your job to keep them as a purchaser, and your job to present them more than you promised, so that the next time you offer something, they're willing to pay the higher price. And that is the business model for podcasters. Mike, am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. But to me, there's got to be a little bit more to it than that. It's if you watch Dave Ramsey, or know who he is, or listen to what he says, there's one comment he makes that is extremely important, not just for podcasters, but for anyone in business, anyone in life. And that is, at some point, you got to get out, leave the cave, go out and kill something, drag it home to have something to eat.
Exactly.
And that's what John Lee Dumas is doing. He's a master at that. He's not making his money podcasting. He's making his money with his ancillary services, his other organization putting it together, and the big part about that, and I don't know that much about him, so you guys feel free to correct me, but based on what I've heard about him, is he works his butt off.
Yes, he does.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go put that into it and make that kind of money, go for it. But you're not going to do a one podcast a month and start having people write magazine articles about your success in the podcasting business.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and the guys that I know who are doing once a month are guys who already have their name and already had. I mean, Andy Stanley ain't looking to make no money with his podcast.
Well, here's what I think about that, Philip. And I've observed this a couple of times this week. In fact, this past 7 days, looking at some things. Podcasts, to an extent, are becoming commodities.
Yeah,
they're being commoditized. And what I mean by that is, when I go to a website, and if it's a product, I immediately look for an audiovisual presentation that's going to show me how that product works. There are a lot of videos, demos on YouTube. There are the incidental videos that are posted on the website. But reality is, that's the market for many podcasters, because if you've got someone who knows how to edit, who knows how to talk, who has the equipment, they can put together those little vignettes, those little feature presentations to go onto the website for your local merchants who don't have the big bucks to go out and pay Hollywood to come in and do those things. And once you do that and gain the credibility, now you can parlay that into something for your own personal show. But I've got to go back and say it again, and I'll say it till y'all cut me off. I'm blue in the face. And I mean this sincerely. I go through the podcast on Facebook. I don't find 3 out of 100 that are worth listening to. The numbers are so dramatically bad that the industry is eating itself.
I agree.
Now, here's the that's not even being critical, because I started people in the radio business. I had a guy I'd never talked into a microphone before, and he had such a fantastic voice. I spent hours upon hours sitting with him, and he would say something, nope, Chuck, can't do it that way. It's got to be this way. Nope, can't do it. I was listening to some tapes about 15 years ago, archived tapes, and some of the last stuff that he did, that he recorded for us, it sounded like network agency quality stuff. That's where do as I say, not as I do.
Right. And Mike, I will confess that I worked in radio for about 15 years. I never had the voice, but you know what I always had? The personality and the delivery.
That's more important.
And it is. I mean, I hate to say it, it is. I mean, I've got great friends who have super awesome voices, but they're as
monotone.
That's the dimension. That is the dimension.
Yeah.
You know,
well, this guy was that way.
If you have no dimension, you know, you can't. I mean, you're not going to connect.
This guy was that way, Philip. But I will tell you that, you know, how you go in the group and you see people saying, "I want to get somebody to record my show opener.
Right.
I want to get." This guy would have people lining up for his voice. He had one of the most naturally beautiful voices I've ever heard.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
Certainly.
So, Mike, I hear you saying that you think 3 out of 100 podcasts are basically terrible. So what is your defining criteria for terrible versus a good podcast?
I said 3 out of 100 were good.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what makes a bad podcast. If it's on Blog Talk Radio, it's out. Can't listen to it. If someone is using a webcam microphone or a computer microphone, I'm out. If they start their show and it's 3.5 minutes before they get to the beginning of the show, I'm out.
Uh-huh.
If the show is a bunch of inside jokes with laughing and giggling and no substance, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could keep going on and on and on about certain pet peeves I have that I don't want to listen to. Now, having said that, if you have someone, and again, I'm going to qualify this remark with what I meant to say a minute ago. If we don't have the lousy people doing them, we're not going to have the good ones doing it later.
Right.
Good people come from lousy people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not being critical of people who are not good. The problem I deal with these people is they tend to think that they are really good and they don't improve.
Yeah.
They need to realize that they need to improve.
Yeah.
So
Look,
the other things I could think about that would cause bad podcasters is bad grammar. Don't even take the time to know what they're talking about.
horrible show prep.
No show prep, or even worse, they get the facts wrong.
Yeah.
You have a certain number on both sides, the political, the left and the right, and in the center where they go and the first thing they do is offend half the audience. I mean, you get through all this, and I'm trying to find out, you know, if this weren't a Hangout on air, we could say some things that we would not want to say publicly. But that being said, Dave Jackson used to go through a podcast a week and just rip it apart.
Yeah, he would.
And as long as you've got the confidence in what you're doing to withstand the assessment, it could be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
People will say to me, Mike, tell me about the podcast. And my reply to them is, well, okay, it was great. He says, that doesn't help. I said,
Yeah.
You're right. It doesn't help.
Mike,
What do you want? I want the unblinded truth. And then I tell them the things that I heard and they fixed.
Mike, tell me the job, because I know you'll know, the job of a program director in a radio station, his primary job.
Well, it depends on how it's structured, but the program director is responsible for what comes out of the speaker.
And by doing that, by having that responsibility, what's his responsibility to the guy on the air?
Oh, he's got to make him walk the line. He's got to be good. He's his quality control.
And every week when I was working in radio, every week when I worked at a top station in my market, I had a meeting with my program director, and he would take what we called a scoped tape. Every time the mic came on, the recorder started.
Scammer.
And he would record that, and he would listen to it, and then he'd call me into the office, and he would tell me where I did good, and he would just excoriate me when I did bad. And so, you know, and that's what podcasters really need, is they need somebody who is an honest sounding board to say, you know, you might should have turned that phrase a little bit differently, or maybe you're not thinking about your avatar as much as you think you are. You're talking to yourself, or you're talking to the mirror of yourself, and you're not really talking to your audience in the way that they want to be talked to. And or maybe you need to work on your diction, or you know, whatever it is. That's the job. That's the job of the program director. And podcasters need program directors. One of the reasons why I've been praying and considering setting up a network of podcasters is to do exactly that, is to have a regular evaluation meeting with those podcasters and say, now, do you really want to make this better? Because if you do,
hire Mike to do that for you.
I would love Mike.
Man, I want him to watch mine now. I want him to listen to mine now and give me.
Here's the problem, though, guys. a lot of these guys have egos that they really don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
The size of the Titanic, and guess what's going to happen?
You're going to fall.
You're going to hit an iceberg.
The thing about it is, I do speaking engagements, and I love it. I mean, it's phenomenal. There's just something about a live audience that brings me to life, especially if it's something that really, a topic that really resonates with the audience. With a podcast, and I can feel it in myself because it's just me, like the days that I choose not to interview anybody else and it's just me kind of flying solo, I don't get that same connection, and I feel like I'm off, you know, and it could be 1 or 100 or 1,000 people listening to that podcast, but I don't get the same flow as I do when I'm on stage, when I'm talking. And also, from the interview side of it, I started out as a recruiter. Recruiting is my background, so I've been interviewed thousands of people for jobs. So I know how to pull things out of people and get the best out of them. But I find when I get like what I call a dead interview, where they're just kind of, and they go round and round to get to the point, that throws me off my game. And I mean, I've been in this 5 years doing this, and I still see room where I can improve, and I still see where those instances kind of take me off my game. And I mean, I always learn. I'm always learning, and I don't ever try to set myself up to feel that I know everything and I'm at the top or whatever. So if you ever started anything like that, consider me part of it.
I'll just give you a little bit of advice, and Mike, you correct me anytime you want to. Let me give you a little bit of advice about the interview with the dead fish. Because I've interviewed quite a few of them. I've worked in radio and in television, and I've interviewed quite a few dead fish in my life. Here's what you have to do. And I love John Lee Dumas, if for nothing else, having done this numerous times on his podcast, call him out on it. Call him out on it. Say, look, that's not the type of answers my audience expects, and that's not the type of answers I'm going to receive. You need to get involved in this conversation.
Okay.
And you know, you can say it on the mic or you can say it off the mic. But you've got to tell them. And the best thing to do is before you start recording, say, I need you to understand, these are the expectations of my audience, and they're my expectations too, because I'm guarding my audience.
Right.
Now, as for presenting to the other people versus speaking, Mike, I don't know if you ever had to teach your new guys this. When I was just getting started in radio, I think everybody who are just getting started has a fear of this instrument right here. They just, I mean, it scares them because the whole concept is you're broadcasting. It's mass media. There could be thousands of people listening. But the truth of the matter is whether you're speaking from a stage or whether you're speaking by yourself in a radio studio, you're speaking one-on-one. And if you can't connect emotionally from the stage one-on-one, you're not going to connect to anybody in that audience.
On the mic, right.
And it's the same way with the mic. And you have to learn that this guy is a guy.
It's one person.
It's not an electrical instrument designed to take airwaves and turn it into electrical current. It is a person. It is the person that you want to communicate to the most. And if you do that, it will help you, and it will help you build that energy up in your presentation, in your podcast as well. Mike, am I wrong?
No, it's exactly right, and that is, back in the old days, you would turn on the radio, and these guys would say, "We'd like to say hello to everybody out there in good old radio land."
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting in the room by myself. Who is he talking to?
I'll never forget a preacher that I worked weekends when I started, Mike. So, you know, you have to work the Sunday morning programs when you work weekends.
As I can tell.
And I will never forget the very first AM radio station I worked at was 1,000 watts daytime. And to be quite honest with you, early in the morning, we probably got out past the city limits. And so this preacher would come in and he'd say, first thing he would say every Sunday morning, "Hello there, world." Guess what? We can reach the world. I mean, Skywave and AM, we may have reached Texas from Mississippi. I don't know. It depends on the atmospherics.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, dude, let's be honest. The county had 85,000 in it. You're not talking to the world.
We had a county with 35,000 in it.
So yeah, but you've got to be realistic, and forget your analytics. Forget your download numbers. As Mike said, you really don't know how many people are listening to your podcast. And so talk to the one. And if you talk to the one, you will resonate to the many.
Okay. Good sound advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. First off, hi to everybody. It's nice to be here. So I would like to circle back, Mike, because you made some great points about radio, and I'm so far opposite. I have zero radio experience. I've done a little bit of television production stuff when I was a few years younger, but I've done so little radio that I'm breaking all of those rules that you're talking about. And just from my perspective, from my unique perspective, I don't go after those shows personally that are very cookie cutter. I don't like the ones where they're talking to the masses because I'm not the masses. I'm so opposite vanilla that stuff does not talk to me or reach me.
And that's the point Mike was making.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, I think there are – here's my only question is podcasting radio? Because there's a lot that we can learn from radio, but there's also a lot in how different online business can work and how reaching the world online can work, or reaching a very small target audience that doesn't have to really follow those things. Although I can tell you right now, I have a lot to learn from what you guys are talking about delivery, about those things, but at the same time, some of that just isn't me. And I think what I see often in podcasting is we all want to be like that person that we bought their course from. If you've been at Podcasters Paradise, there's 84 different shows with On Fire at the end of it, and that start the same way and that have the same artwork, that have the same flow, that gets annoying to me, because now we want to follow what startup sounds like. We want to follow what This American Life and Serial sounds like, because that's what everyone's going towards. And when everyone goes one way, you have to go the opposite, is what I've found to make me successful. So would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Just, I've been sitting on the sideline hearing and kind of just hearing the jibber jabber back and forth, but would love to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
I think if you can't be yourself, who the heck can you be? That's what I think. And Mike, tell me if you agree with me on this. The demise of radio began when the index card entered into the studio. Mike, is that right?
The index card?
Yeah,
the line card.
I don't know about that, because you had certain. I would argue that was probably a wash, because while it did bring a lack of flexibility, a lack of creativity on the part of the DJ, when we used them, typically they were the top of the hour ID. It's 11 o'clock at WGAR. Do you know where your children are? I mean, that's off a rip and read off an index card.
Right.
But you still had personality during the hour.
Well, I started radio in '82, and in about '87 or '88, I'll be honest with you, I quit a radio station and went to work at Radio Shack because I had 8 cards to read an hour. 8 per hour. Okay. Well, I don't cuss, but damn, just put in a freaking automation system. And they did. And then Clear Channel came in to all the other stations that weren't automated, and guess what they did? They replaced all the live guys with guys in major markets.
Yep.
So in a way, Jeremy, yes, podcasting is radio, but it's not.
I've got a couple of different perspectives on that, and it's a little convoluted, but this crowd ought to be able to follow my convolution on this one, and it's multidimensional. It is radio like podcasting, because I've got something I'm advocating that a lot of people want to discredit, but let's talk about what we know. To begin with, you only have 2 ears.
Yeah.
You're only going to be listening to one piece of entertainment at a time. If it's podcasting, or if it's broadcast radio, you still only have 2 ears at one time.
And one brain.
Podcasting is absolutely in competition with radio.
It is.
The theaters, where you have to go use your ears to watch a movie. The cell phone. You can't listen to a podcast while you're talking on a cell phone, and most people can't. So there's your competition right there. In TV, they used to call it competing for eyeballs. People can't watch but one show at a time, so you'd better be the best one on. Same with podcasting, and that is that you only got 2 ears, you've got to be as good as or better than radio. Well, what happened, and I don't mean this unkindly, because I had a silver spoon life when it came to this. My father built our radio station in 1962. I grew up in the business. I never had to wonder how to get into the business. My big wonder was how to get the heck out of it, because I had to show up when nobody else was there to do the work.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, as the radio business continues to fracture, and as Clear Channel, Crap Channel, iFart Radio, as all these guys tend to send their people packing,
yeah,
these are guys who've never done anything else for a living. They love being on the air. They love being behind a microphone. They feel like they have something to offer. They're going to go where they can go. And the easiest, cheapest place to go is podcasting.
Yeah.
Okay, they got to learn some new tricks, but that's okay. They go to a new radio station. They have to learn the new market. They have to learn who the people are at the town council, who are the principals at the schools, what civic clubs are doing which events, which ones do they have. I mean, there are things that you have to do to be part of that.
The new call letters, so they don't give the wrong ones.
Yep, those you have to write on this card written
exactly.
in front of you. So that has to happen, but as these guys, and hold that thought right there, because as I say, this is kind of multifaceted. From the other side, you've got rank amateurs getting into podcasting, people who have no business doing it. They're not even the diamonds in the rough getting started. They are the garbage dump, and they're going to stay there or get worse. You don't know. I don't know how you differentiate one from the other. Sometimes they'll surprise you. I'm all for beginners. I help them all the time, and I'm sitting there shaking my head, wondering why I'm wasting my time, because they're just not going to cut it. So, because who these people are, and you know this, Philip, when you were in the radio business, when it was in the good old days, and the good old days quit about 1982, by the way.
Yeah, right around there.
But in the good old days, you used to have all these people who would call you up, or who would come see you when you were out doing a remote broadcast, and the biggest sparkle in their eyes was, how can I get on the radio?
Yes, it was.
How can I get on the radio? And you had to tell them it's really tough, because you can't start as a beginner. You have to be experienced. Well, where do I go to get experience? I don't know. Nobody's going to hire someone who's not experienced.
Exactly.
We were lucky to have a college radio station where they could go in and play around and learn a little bit. And we hired quite a few guys there.
Or you can find a struggling radio station and maybe get in weekends and nights.
Yes. So anyway, you got to cut your teeth somewhere. So a lot of these people have resorted to podcasting, and that's who these people are. They have no business being in the bit. I had a guy, I've told this 100 times, and nobody's ever thought it was funny. Maybe this crowd will think it's funny, but it's honest to God truth. I was putting a 5,000 watt AM transmitter on the air for a radio station in Red Springs, North Carolina. And during the process, we'd gotten to know, and I'd done engineering work for the station for 6 months, a year, something like that. And they had this guy on the air there. Just funny guy. He's just funny as he could be, but you could tell he wasn't really smart. He was not setting the world on fire academically. And so we're sitting in the control room one day, because he wasn't a good radio man. And my wife asked him, said, I'm just curious, how did you get in the radio business? I mean, what she was saying is, what in the heck happened that allowed you to come into this business?
Who the crap hired you?
She said, what? And it was so funny, because he leaned back in his chair. He had on a T-shirt, probably hadn't had a bath in a week. He leaned back. His chair looked up, and he said, I've thought about it 100 times. He said, it's like I decided to go somewhere and got on the wrong bus.
Wow.
So why was he still in radio?
Well, I doubt he is, but he's You got to pursue it because you might break through. You never know.
Yeah.
But what hurts me, and this is the comment I was making earlier, Philip, what bothers me is I know who these podcasters are. I know that they're good people. They're going to spend a little bit of money. They want to give it a shot. If it's there, they want to bring it to the forefront. And then you got these guys coming along, and for $1,000 this and $2,000 and $3,000, I'm going to make you successful. And I got news for you: 25,000 wouldn't cut it.
Yeah, with some of them. But that's the thing I enjoyed about being. I never got to a PD, but I was always the APD and the music director. But the thing that I loved about being the program director or even the assistant was the personality development side of it, was working with the weekenders or working with the overnighters and helping them hone their craft so that they wouldn't at my station because we weren't planning on losing anybody. But so they could, and matter of fact, I'd help them find a job at another station, even if it was down the street. And help them find a job where they're at a better time slot or at even a better station, because by doing that you help all the industry. And Adrian, that's why I said podcasters we have to find a way to do that development in podcasting. Mike's right. There are some people, there's no way in the world you can shine that piece of charcoal up.
Let me step back to Jeremy's point. Mike, I love everything you say, by the way. You're my idol right now.
Well, I appreciate that. I've just got 50 years experience in the business. 52.
Well, I appreciate a no BS attitude, and I think that's what I like about when you're talking. I know it's not going to be BS, so that makes me feel better about the discussion. And Jeremy's, tell me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of people out there doing a lot of different things. You're not going to change how you do, but you're going to grow and you're going to develop, right? You're going to improve. You might not change your moniker. You might not change how you come across. You're just going to improve how you come across. A lot of people out there, there's different people aiming at a different audience. For me personally, I've got a lot of growth. I've got a lot of changing I got to do. I got a lot of ums and ahs I got to get rid of. And I'm 30 shows in, and I'm working on it. But I think that there's a lot of people out there that will never change. They don't see it like we're talking about. We don't have anybody to develop them. My fear is that is going to kill podcasting in the future. That is going to be like a post I had a week or so ago. That is going to be that guy that's talking on his cell phone when he's recording his podcast. You can hear his air conditioning in his car. You can hear him opening his door. All these different things that drive me nuts that I know have to drive other people nuts when they think, oh, there's this new medium. I can go listen to this. But it's crap when they listen to it. What's going to get them to come back? I would say a majority of them never will give podcasting another chance until somebody introduces them to a quality podcast.
Like Serial or something like that.
Yeah, something like that would bring them back.
To me,
I wasn't putting words in your mouth, Jeremy.
A lot of what's going on out there is the same as if you've got a professional photographer who decides he's going to take pictures with a Polaroid.
Or an iPhone.
Yeah.
Hang on. I was a professional photographer, and I took a challenge. I could take as good of pictures with a point and shoot as I could with a DSLR. Now, a Polaroid, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said Polaroid. But my point on that one, though, is as a professional photographer, you might get the best Polaroid pictures that anyone has seen.
But it's still a Polaroid.
But they're still Polaroid pictures.
Yeah. And I was telling the guys earlier, Jeremy, I'm 198 episodes in on mine, but my platform kind of negates all the work that I've done because I'm on Blog Talk Radio, but I'm still learning. I choose to approach it like you said, be yourself and all that. I don't script my shows. I don't give my guests questions before because I want that authenticity when they come on the show, and it works. It has worked. People have been comfortable. They may be a little uncomfortable in the beginning, not knowing, but I've been told that it's like sitting down at the kitchen table having a conversation with me, and that's the feel that I try to put across on all of my podcasts where I do interviews. And I know that there's still a lot I have to learn. I mean, I can't walk into, I make the joke and you weren't on, I started a Get Adrian on Sirius XM radio hashtag campaign about a month ago. And I know I can't walk into Sirius tomorrow and say, hey, put me on the air. You know, I know that. But I do my podcast every week, and it's mine. I have creative freedom. I do what I want with it, and nobody comes in. I've gotten approached by Talk America, and I can't remember the other one. It was another one that approached me to come on to do radio with them, but they wanted creative control, and I didn't want to give that up. So, you know, I missed those opportunities. Whether they were for me or not, we'll never know. But I turned them down because I wanted to stay true to who I was. But we didn't even get that far.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, they don't pay that much, especially Talk America.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I didn't want to give up who I was. So I say stay true to who you are, but be open to criticism. I mean, I'm open. Like, I know Mike will probably he won't listen to my stuff because I'm on Blog Talk Radio. I know he probably will rip my podcast apart.
Hey, at least that was number 3 on his list.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I'm one of the most adamant defenders of Blog Talk Radio because sound is not everything. It is absolutely critical, but it is not everything. There's a lot more to the picture.
I agree.
And I would argue that using Blog Talk Radio in conjunction with Mixler would be, which is what we have done, and it works extremely well. Now, let me tell you the downs. By the way, I was the first one to introduce Mixler to podcasting.
Okay.
I told Ray Ortega about it, and then Ray got on the air and started railing about it, and it spread like wildfire. It was free at the time.
Yeah.
But I've got 2 free accounts with those guys. They like me a lot. And they're very responsive and really trying to do a good job. But there's also another service out there that almost no one has heard of that is extremely good. If you pre-record your show and want a place to host the audio file, go to Chirbit, CHIRBIT.com.
Okay.
CHIRBIT.com. And it's for free. You can post all the files you want to if you create your own RSS feed. If you want them to create an RSS feed, they charge a monthly fee. I don't remember how much it is. It's not much at all. Okay. It's a guy. It's in its infancy, and you can upload all you want. All the 2-hour shows you can upload for free, one right after the other, and then you can link to them. You can actually put a link in Facebook, and it's not exactly a player because it blows out of Facebook into his player, but it does allow an embed there that works pretty darn well. And again, the price is right, at least for now. And so having said that, there's one other aspect of podcasting that needs to be addressed by people before they sink the kitchen sink into the process. And that is, as these radio guys continue to blow out of the business and start finding a place in podcasting, they're kind of getting a head start. They're not having to worry about how to ask questions, how to work a microphone, what is a good quality sound, what is it that the audience really will interact with. They can see through that microphone to know what the audience is already going to respond to. They are leagues ahead of the other people who are rank amateurs getting started, and that's going to give them a big advantage.
And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but that's one of the things when I've been in interviews. They go, "How are you able to interview with such ease?" Well, the answer is because since 1982 I've been in radio. Matter of fact, since 2005. I've been in radio and television journalism. Guess what I did on a daily basis? I asked questions. And so, and then, Adrian, you were talking earlier about the person who either wouldn't answer the question or was a dead fish when they were answering it. The other fact of the matter is he or she who asked the questions controls the conversation.
Yeah.
So if they're not answering your questions, then you go, as I said, you call them on the carpet or you prepare them in advance. But if they're still not answering your questions, ask the dang thing again.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had to do that. And like I said, my recruiting background comes into play on some of those things where I know how to rephrase questions and kind of get them to talk. But it's extra work, and it's I'm used to the conversations where they flow naturally, even though they may be a little bit nervous. But I get maybe for every 10, I would get maybe 2 people that aren't what I thought they would be. Like, they seemed exciting. I've seen them on stage, and and when you sit down with them, it's like, oh, what was I thinking bringing them on my show? So,
yeah. You know the difference between that person you're talking to and the person on the stage? In preaching, we call it, they preach their candy stick sermon. And what that means is they've got that one sermon that's always in their pocket. They've got it. It's nailed. The presentation is down pat. Yeah. I don't have to think about it. I just do it. It's muscle memory. And so when they're up there on that stage, they're speaking from muscle memory. It's rote. But when you're in a conversation, you can't do the rote. That's why politicians hate interviews with people they don't know.
They're talking points.
Unless, of course, they're wearing green lipstick.
And have teleprompters.
Yeah. But how in the world she got an interview with President Obama, I'll never know, except for the fact that he knew she wasn't going to ask anything that was going to challenge him.
Yeah.
What's her name, Roe or something? Some girl on YouTube who wears this fluorescent green lipstick, earned an interview spot with President Obama, was one of 3 from YouTube that earned an interview spot with President Obama, I think last week or the week before last. And I'm like, how? Let me interview him.
Why?
Why?
Ask the real questions.
Yeah, he won't answer them.
Well, I know.
He won't answer him.
I know, but at least I would have him on tape not answering them.
Well, here's the point, though. This is a perfect transition into my other pet peeve with podcasting. They have to be more than just interviews.
I agree.
How many more times do you want to hear John Lee Dumas interviewed?
Funny that you should ask. I'm interviewing him tomorrow.
Well, I mean,
but you have to ask questions that nobody's asking.
Yeah, what questions do you have lined up for him that no one else has ever asked him?
You want to know?
No, I mean, it's a rhetorical.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Number 1, what is your thoughts? What is your I haven't phrased it just yet. Basically, what do you think about Twitter bombing? And I expect his eyes on Skype to get about that big around.
Absolutely, it's not a good idea. People use Twitter bombing to try to emulate our success, and
I agree.
Whenever they find out that it's really hard to do, they automatically assume that we've mastered it, or either we don't know how to do it. So it's not good for the industry. We absolutely categorically reject the concept of Twitter bombing. No one should be allowed to do that.
Well, I know, but see, here's the thing. Next month, I've already said, I'm focusing all of my episodes and some blog posts on the concept of Twitter bombing. And I've yet to find a Twitter bomber who will talk to me about Twitter bombing on an interview.
Of course.
Of course. And we all understand why. Yeah, nobody wants to be caught with their hand in that cookie jar.
It's the same as buying Twitter followers.
Exactly. And the thing is, and I put in my article, I'm pretty sure Jeremy read it. I know Dwayne read it. I talked to a member of Podcasters Paradise. I have the interview. I mean, not the interview, but the interaction with them on Facebook, because it was instant message, offered for me to guarantee me 100,000 downloads for the month of January for the nice tidy sum of $1,500 freaking dollars, and admitted to me that they would use bots to do it.
Well, I wouldn't do it if they admitted that.
Well, I wouldn't do it anyway, because I knew how they were doing it.
Well, I have a question though. We got all these hotshot consultants out there teaching you how to get rich. And now they're in some in their second, third, and fourth year of teaching people how to get rich. Yeah. How many more rich podcasters do we have now?
Oh, please don't get me started on that.
Well,
I mean, where's the proof? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you've got 50 people a year taking your course, you ought to at least be getting 5 new millionaires a year.
I agree.
No, the only person who's getting rich is the person teaching the course because they're
T.
getting
Barnum's
money.
getting the money.
See,
Again,
and that's why I have a problem with these business coaches and things like that. So yeah, let me shut up.
Adrian, that's why I said the way you make money in podcasting is you have something that is of value to sell to them through your podcast.
I say that podcasting is your business card.
Yeah. It's a
Definitely.
It's a marketing tool. Yeah, that's all it is. And I went to a blogging conference, and it's the same. I mean,
it's the same.
Different mediums, same thing, right?
Exactly.
And
the
like
medium is the message. Marshall
Yeah.
McLuhan. The medium is the message.
Yeah.
You're reaching an audience through whatever medium you're using. And that's why Show Notes Guy exists, is because you're expanding your audience and you're also expanding the product you can create with your content. Content is king in the internet.
But let me
It
ask
better
this, Phil.
be good. Yes, sir.
Yes, and I don't know you, don't know anything about your consulting.
Yes, sir.
But there are some regular podcast consultants who want you to go from good to great, who want you to create a new dimension, wanted you to rock the world. Why would you pay these people to teach you how to do what they have not even done for their own podcast?
I agree. And, matter of fact, I'm having to restructure my entire business. You know why? Because I don't have time to write my own freaking show notes right now. And so I'm having to retool and restructure my entire business, rates, products, the whole nine, how the process of getting them all produced, because of the fact that I don't have time right now to write my own show notes.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to find a way to VA some of this stuff and not go broke. Number one.
Raise your prices.
Yeah, exactly, and that's about to happen. And then number two, I've got to find a way to automate some of that process a little bit better. Right now, the only way I have found to adequately and accurately, without having access to my podcaster's WordPress site to put the content online, is to give them a Word document or a Pages document with all the text, all the links, everything else. Then they have to copy and paste and redo the H2 tags, because H2 tags won't transfer for some reason.
Hold on, let me ask you this: you're training people, you're giving them, okay, and you're using WordPress?
Yeah.
Why not use CoursePress Pro?
Number one, because I'm so freaking familiar with WordPress.
It is it's a plugin for WordPress.
Right. I'm actually using the S2 membership to handle all the stuff in the back end for the membership.
Okay.
But I've not really looked at CoursePress Pro. I will now that you mentioned it. But I use S2 membership because, number one, because it's free, and I'm just starting my business off. Okay. I'm 3.5 months into Show Notes Guy business.
Oh. Okay.
So it's you got to start where you are.
Yeah. They have a free version.
The Podcasters.
The Podcasters. Okay. Yeah, CoursePress. They have a free version. I upgrade. I got the paid version because I needed the bandwidth.
Right.
Because of the classes that I teach. But I think that instead of you can still upload documents.
Right.
But it can be set on auto, and you don't have to worry about it, and it'll just keep going out. And you could do videos, you could do audio, text, documents, and all of that. And I just think it's just an easy learning management system that you can have on your WordPress. So it's something to look into. And
that's called what?
CoursePress Pro.
Was that the domain too? www.
No, it's on. Oh God.
Let me Google it.
It's one of those WP development sites or whatever. But if you just put in CoursePress Pro, you should be able to Google that and see that.
Yeah, I'm looking.
They have a bunch of different plugins.
I was going to tell you, Adrian, one of the links that you posted came up with a blank window.
Which one?
The first one.
Empowered for Growth TV?
Yes.
Powered for RoadTV.com. Why is it? That shouldn't be. All right, I'll have my assistant check into that.
Yeah, I just checked the same thing.
Okay, yeah, no, that's not supposed to be that
Views
way.
from the top we've got.
Yeah. All right, well, I don't know why that would be blank. I'll have my assistant do that.
There's the link for CoursePress Pro on WordPress.org.
Yeah. And just when you click on that, just go to where they have the details.
Mm-hmm.
It'll bring you to their website.
Okay.
See the list, so.
I'll study it.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for new ways to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in not being stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've enjoyed this evening. We need to do this more often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And Mike, I'm not as brave as Dave Jackson was, but eventually I would love to be able, for me and you both, to take a podcast that someone asked us to evaluate, and you and I do two separate evaluations and see where we land, and try to help podcasters, because I believe that what you have said tonight, and it's been what I've been telling my coaching clients all along, is if you don't have someone, and I need someone to evaluate me, because when I listen, my ears gloss over. I understand that. But I need someone to evaluate me as well, to make sure that I am constantly improving, because it's those incremental improvements that make you the top of the market.
Yep.
I posted an offer to review podcast in the podcast, whichever one, podcast group, Megan Enlow's group.
Mm-hmm. Podcast
Left it
community.
up for 24 hours, did not get one single taker.
Really?
Of course not. Nobody wants to hear the truth. Nobody wants to hear that their baby is ugly.
Somebody else posted they wanted to share it, and they had like 100 or 200.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I'm not well known over there or anything like that, so I get that. Who is this guy wants to tell me about my podcast? But I've been doing this stuff a long time. I know what's a good one, what's a bad one.
Yeah.
You two should do a 6-week series and just pick a podcast a week for 6 weeks and just kind of break it down, and, well, with permission, of course.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wouldn't just pick one.
Daniel charges $69 to do it.
Who is?
Daniel Lewis.
Don't get me talking about Daniel J. Lewis. Thank you very much.
We're HOA.
I know. One of my clients.
Whoa, Dave Jackson, not Daniel J. Lewis.
Oh, okay. One of my clients talked to both of those guys, as a matter of fact, and the first thing they did was start talking about how much money they were going to charge. That's the last thing I talk about. Which may be why I'm not making the money they're making.
No, you talk about the value first and the results that you deliver, then you talk about the price. That's how I do it.
I agree. Well, I have enjoyed the evening. We need to do this a little bit more often.
Well, thank you, guys.
Nice to meet everyone except for you, Philip. And by the way, you still do have a face for radio, Phil.
I agree, even with the camouflage.
I'm telling you.
I worked television for 10 years.
Yeah, don't believe it.
I didn't say I worked major market.
As a cameraman, maybe.
No. I worked on the other side, both sides actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's our banter, Adrian. I apologize.
No, it's funny. I like
Shifter guy, what's your name?
Dwayne.
Dwayne. Okay, sorry about that.
Dwayne Scott.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Your microphone is running into a mixer?
Yes.
Where's the treble control set on your mic channel?
Where's the what?
Treble
control.
Treble control?
Yeah.
Hang on.
2 o'clock.
I gotta learn this stuff from you guys.
Honestly, everything is dead center on here right now. Everything's at 12 o'clock. My son.
Are you using any sort of mic processor?
No.
Back your highs down just a little bit.
It's real brittle.
Is that any better?
You'll have to talk a little bit. We have to listen to it.
All right. Yeah, can you even hear me? Because I can't even hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Who?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm using my computer mic, so I don't care.
Well, but you say that, Adrian, but here's the thing. How do I explain this?
Well, no, it's just for the Hangout, I'm saying. I'm not saying for my podcast.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
right now.
Yeah, because on a podcast, no one will take you seriously.
No.
No, I have a headset mic that I need to trade in. That's what it was.
Yeah, you need to get an ATR 2100.
Yeah.
Well, be careful. Do not buy your ATR 2100 from Amazon. The cable will go bad.
I disagree.
I've got well, I say that based on the comments that I have seen in at least 5 podcasting communities on Facebook.
Here's the problem. I've owned 20 of them, and I've never had a bad one. And I intentionally bought a bad one from a guy. And the problem with the USB connector on them is that they are surface mounted to the circuit board.
Mm-hmm.
They have no additional glue or connecting material holding that jack down to the circuit board.
Okay.
So if you strong arm that plug, you can easily knock it off the circuit board.
Right.
It is a $30 piece of equipment. It is not robust like a $1,000 MKH 416 microphone.
So in other words, pull it by this.
Yes.
Not by this.
Not by the small one.
Yeah.
What was the model again?
ATR 2100.
Actually, it's probably a little cheaper if you get the AT2005 version, which is the same microphone, but it's a little cheaper.
Okay.
And if you're out of the country, it's the Samsung Q2U.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll go look tomorrow. I've been looking at Guitar Center. They had a couple of good ones.
Nope.
In there. No?
Amazon is the place to go, but Philip is exactly right. That these are inexpensive pieces of equipment. When you get it, don't leave it in the box for 30 days. Take it out and use it.
Yeah.
And if you have any problems, send it back and get another one. Do not be shy of them. I have sent them all over the world. Where our guy in the UK uses one. I'll put a link here now to the radio show that we are doing on Mixler.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you do, Adrian, do not listen to John Lee Dumas or to the Podcast Answer Man or to Daniel J. or to Dave or any of them if they tell you to buy a Heil microphone.
Oh, that's what I've been seeing thrown around.
Do not buy a Heil microphone. Mike, you ever seen a Heil microphone in a radio station?
Oh, yeah.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen one.
Yeah.
The best mic I've ever seen in a radio station was an EV R20.
RE20.
RE20. That's it. I've never seen a Heil. I've seen a Samsung MD421. I've seen, not Samsung, a Sennheiser MD421. I've seen the Shure SMB7. I've seen the EV, the Electro Voice RE20. And I've seen a few Audio-Technica mics, but I've never seen a Heil in a radio station.
Yeah, my Audio-Technica broke down on me.
What AT did you have?
Bass drum mic.
Oh, I don't remember. It was like 3 years ago.
What'd you say, Dwayne?
It's a bass drum mic.
The Heil? Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, I have an AT 2020. That mic right there is an Audio-Technica 2020, and it's going into a USB interface. And so, I just prefer this mic for a lot of reasons. It's inexpensive, but it's a really good mic. And but his point is, you don't want to use an onboard camera mic. That's is that a Sennheiser 421?
It is.
I love that mic. Love that mic.
And is USB?
That's an RE20.
Nice.
That's an Electro Voice RE20 right there. But I've yet to see a Heil in a radio station. They're not the value they're charging for it.
Okay.
So do not. And yes, this is a HOA, and somebody's going to point it out to those guys that I said it. But a Heil microphone, Mike has seen it in a radio station. I've never, and I've worked in radio in 4 states.
Okay.
So.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, guys.
But get you a good mic. It will make a world of difference in your audio.
No problem.
I can't see that one up close.
Is that a high?
I can't see it, Mike. Hold on. Let me click
Up,
on
down, forward, back.
Hold on. Let me click on your camera. Oh,
That's
So
a high.
I can't.
when he talks, he comes up.
Yeah, I'm trying to lock him in. There we go. Yeah, Kyle.
I love that mic.
That is a shotgun mic. Is that a Sony?
Nope.
What is it? I can't see the brand.
Sennheiser MKH
Sennheiser.
416.
Yeah, that is a great mic as well.
$1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I still got a lot to learn. Good thing my services are where I make my money, and not the podcasting.
Well, I'm sorry I forgot to click on my camera so it wouldn't lock it into me all night.
That's okay.
Oh, I just remembered to do that when I clicked on Mike's to lock him in. Well, I've enjoyed this. We're
Me
going to have to
too.
do this again and invite others to join us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, had a good time. And Mike, I'm going to be getting with you and seeing if I can fix this sound since you said it sounds a little off.
It's
Yeah,
brutal.
something doesn't sound right.
It's brutal. What mic are you using there, Dwayne?
I got the Heil.
You do?
Now that you're talking bad about it.
Well, sorry. I just don't think it's a good instrument.
Well, I tested out a few, and a friend of mine that's a DJ and works in radio and has for years said when he listened to the different samples I sent him, the Heil's where I sounded the best on.
And I think the Heil is an excellent microphone.
Do you? For the money?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's cheaper than an RE20.
Well, of course.
But I think it sounds better.
Do you?
I do.
I've never liked. Maybe it's the people I'm listening to on the Heil.
Well, but see, most people, particularly in broadcasting, have some sort of broadcast processor on them.
Right. You're right.
And you can take two microphones and run them through different. You make a bad mic sound good and a good mic sound bad.
You're right. The MD421, though, however, is a workhorse of a mic, and I think you could actually hit it with a hammer and it wouldn't damage it.
Yeah, but unfortunately mine rattles because the internal windscreen foam has deteriorated. That microphone is 40 years old.
Yeah, but I love that mic. That
40 years, jeez.
Yeah. Listen, you can. It's like the EV. I forget the model number that old newscasters used to use in TV. He's going to go get it too. I mean, you literally could drive a nail with that mic and still use it. It's just a freaking awesome rock of a microphone. And I mean, it was just a hoss. I used to have. That's it. I used to have one.
Wow.
And in my moves, I lost it. That is a classic mic. And Mike, tell me if I'm wrong. You can drive a nail with that thing and use it immediately thereafter.
If it doesn't break.
Well, I've never had one break on me. But
we always said that hammers were a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that mic at the time, if I'm not mistaken, that mic when it was at its peak was at least a $200 mic.
Well, it is now. Earlier, it was like $59.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was real cheap. It was supposed to be a throwaway mic for the E&G guys to lose them.
Yeah, and they would.
Big time.
They would. I'll never forget when I was working up in Huntsville. This time, Dwayne, I was the camera guy. We were covering a hurricane, and me and the morning news anchor went down to Mobile to cover the hurricane, and he lost his footing. There's a trick. The wall of a building is right here, and you're standing right here, and then when it's time to go live, you step out. The cameraman hopefully stays behind the wall because he's got a heavy camera on his shoulders, and the anchor is out here. The live is out here getting beat up by the wind and the rain. And he lost his footing. And this is before we had wireless mics. And he had one of those mics and a mic cord attached to my camera. And before he lost his footing real good, I'd already reached back and unplugged the mic cord because he was not carrying me or the camera down the parking lot. But yeah, that's but that mic, we actually used it on the very next shot. So it's a hoss of a mic. I won't I won't tell you it has great audio quality, but
It's terrible audio.
Yeah, but it is a great mic for for a workhorse.
You guys remember the radio jingle business?
I do. Century 21.
No, Pam's.
Pam's, yeah. Jams.
Bring back some oldies with some goodies.
I will not have you guys have me date myself.
I remember that one.
Yep.
Well, guys, y'all have a good one.
All right, everybody, be good.
And we'll try to do this again.
Catch you on Facebook.
Even if I have to stop watching
pleasure.
WWE.
Yeah. Yes, you must, Philip.
And I'll let you know when my son gets drafted.
Yes, dude, let me know. And
Let us know. We'll keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, his stage name is Jason Cade, C-A-D-E.
Cool.
Jason Cade.
Well,
All right, well, it's nice meeting everybody. Mike, I am going to get with you for your review of my show and figure out what this thing you're hearing is.
All right, but don't come in with without some fire drawers on.
Oh, man. I got some thick skin and a co-host I'll throw in front of me.
There you go.
He was a Marine. I could sacrifice him.
I got a big boy I can put up there, too.
All righty.
Well, Dwayne, don't forget that we have to talk about SEPA.
Yes, sir. SEPA.
So,
Good night, guys.
good night.
night.
Have a good one.
Everybody have a good evening. And Phil, let's plan tomorrow. Well, I can't do Wednesday.
Okay.
Because Wednesday's my birthday. Mom will get mad if I start talking on my birthday.
Well, tomorrow night's Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said I could do tomorrow night, and I was going to say or Wednesday. But tomorrow night, just let's plan about at least 30 minutes.
Okay. We'll do it.
Talk.
Okay.
All right, man. I'll holler at you.
Dwayne, are we friends on Facebook?
Yeah, I just sent you a friend request a little bit ago.
I thought you. Oh, I did. That's under a different one.
Mike, we became friends when you were trying to get into this, I think. So,
When would that be?
earlier tonight, didn't you send me an inbox asking for the link? Was that you?
To the Hangout.
Yeah. So didn't we become friends when you sent me?
No, I went. No, you don't have to be friends to message anybody.
Some of them you do, or to go to their other.
That was the other. I don't think we were friends, so no, because I say after I just sent the request.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, you just accepted mine.
I just saw it.
I can't see where yours is because I thought I had done so. Oh, I guess they disappear at the request. I got about 25 requests here that I don't know these people.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get off here.
Okay.
Talking to
Mike,
everybody.
I enjoyed it, buddy.
Yeah, Mike, thanks again.
Sure, anytime. It's a lot of fun.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Yeah. And Philip, if you'll take care of me
will.
on that editing.
Gotcha.
I got to watch my mouth. I am plain spoken, but I don't try to be disrespectful to people publicly.
Well, the fact of the matter is.
Are we off the Hangout now?
Yeah, I've stopped the broadcast.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that